behave. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the ferrets you might see in the background, any weird noise, and a weird location. It's playtime for the ferrets. They are feeling extra energetic today, so they're gonna do their thing. But today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I read in July. So let's get into it. So in July, I read 18 books, which is about on par with what I usually read, which is weird because I felt like it was a really bad month for me, but allegedly, according to my Goodreads, it's not. I think I'm gonna do a new thing where I give you the name of the book and then I have to describe it in under a minute because I think that would be fun. So the first book that I read and finished in July was Drown. And Drown is a dark retelling of The Little Mermaid. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this. It was very dark and it's also really close to the other retelling of The Little Mermaid, like the dark version. And it was very atmospheric and very dark. I loved the ending. I loved that I love how the Little Mermaid's story ended, and I thought the whole story was great. It kind of left you with this feeling of despair, and it was just really good. I have 8 seconds. I would highly recommend it. It's very, very dark and deals with a lot of dark themes though, so look into that. Okay, so the next book that I read was The Opposite of Always, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so let's go. This is the story of a boy who is essentially living a Groundhog Day situation over and over again, and he is in love with this girl, he's in a relationship with this girl, and at the end of the 4 months that is the span of this book, she ends up dying, and he goes back to the day they met, and then he has to relive that over and over again until he can figure out what to do to stop the time loop and save her life or not, and learn a lesson. I loved this. It was super sweet. I think that all of the characters were very relatably teenagers. They were annoying teenagers, and all of the side characters were super well developed. We understood the motivations of not just our main character but our side characters, and you come to like and care about our side characters as well, and I would highly recommend. This is a lot more difficult than I would have originally expected. The next book that I read in July was But Without Haste by B. Love. I gave this also 4 out of 5 stars. This is a short novella story about a girl who owns her own, she's an assistant, a professional assistant, and she has had a lot of troubles in relationships. She had one bad relationship in the past, and it kind of shaped the way that she looks at the relationship. She doesn't want a commitment or anything like that, and then she meets this guy who just is kind of still in love with his ex, and he can't get over her, and they come to realize that they shared that ex in common. And when they have to attend a funeral, they kind of just keep running into each other, and they're well, I guess it's fated, and so they start dating. It was super, super cute. I loved that our male main character was so open to feelings, and he didn't have any issues explaining to our main female character that he liked her, was interested in her, and it was super sweet, and I really liked it a whole lot. Dang it, and it's short. The next book that I read was The Shadows Between Us. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. This is the story of a woman who has decided that she wants to kill the king of this kingdom and take his throne, basically. And this was just really exceedingly average for me. Obviously, it ends up budding a romance between the king and the woman that wants his crown. I really liked the story in the beginning. I really felt like the motivations for our main character, our female main character, was really realistic. And she had like this dark intent, but I felt like midway through the book, she kind of lost her understanding or lost why she was interested in the crown or, you know, her plan. And it kind of just became like her hanging around, I guess. And it just lost it midway through for me. And so it was really average. Next, I read Sanctuary. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I read the first one, which I believe is called Haven, about a month or 2 ago, and this one was significantly better. The first one had a lot of like dialogue issues. I felt like it was very stilted and weird, but this one didn't really have any of those issues. Our female main character is essentially running from the mob who she represented and ended up losing the case for, so they're kind of like hunting her down. And when she needs to escape, her friend kind of goes, like, says, hey, you should stay with my brother. So she goes down and meets this grumpy brother, and she stays at like his farm. A romance starts up. I really liked this one way more. You want to see them messing with my water? They're definitely gonna knock it over.
Is that good? Do you like that? Can I move it down so you can drink from it down here? Look, I don't want you knocking it over everywhere, but you can drink it down here. It's just water. You're gonna knock it over, aren't you? Yep. Go ahead, keep sticking your head in there. There's not much water left. Come on. Go ahead, Luna. Axel, stop. Luna's trying to get some water.
Ferrets do this thing called scuba diving, and when they find water, they feel like they want to dive in and scuba dive. So I had a glass of, or a mug of water on the bedside table, and they decided they wanted it. Okay, so yeah, that is Sanctuary. Next, I read Serpent and Dove, which I also gave 3 out of 5 stars. This,
Are you all wet now? Look, it's a wet boy.
Oh. This is like witch hunter, witch and witch hunter like fall in love. They have to get married because Luna, come on, dude. He like is part of this church that teaches hunters, like witch hunters, and they're not supposed to have relations with anyone or anything like that. They're supposed to be like chaste, and he's caught in a compromising position with the witch. He doesn't know that she's a witch, and they end up having to get married, and a love kind of blooms, I guess, between them. I really enjoyed this like on a surface level, reading about their romance, but there was just a lot about the story that was really confusing. I didn't really fully believe their relationship. Like, maybe a fling, yes, because the female main character, she is just diving into this cup and just scooping it all out. The female main character is very like carefree, and she has like that shock value where she cusses and women aren't supposed to cuss, and she likes annoying him and like shocking him, and he is very straight-laced and doesn't think that, you know, women have their place and all that other stuff. And so she kind of shows him that that's not really true and that witches aren't bad or whatever. But the reveal at the end was not shocking, and I didn't really believe the relationship beyond just like a fling of like her showing him that you don't have to be straight-laced all the time, and him showing her that structure is important, or, you know, you can have a place or whatever. But there was no real like understanding of why the relationship was gonna be permanent or anything like that. And the world building was very weird. It had like this very stereotypical French background, and you could tell that the author really just like threw in French words and French foods to like solidify that it was in France, but didn't really go anything beyond that. And the whole book was just very mediocre. I am not opposed to reading the second one. I don't even know if it's out or not, but I'm not like raring to go and raring to read it. So that was that. Next, Next, I read City of Ghosts, which is a middle grade book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's the story of this girl whose parents are like paranormal hunters, and they get kind of recruited to like have a TV show or start a TV show. And their first destination is like this haunted like catacombs situation in Scotland, and she kind of has to go along with them, and she can see ghosts, and she doesn't know why. She had like an accident and her best friend's a ghost. It was really, really cute. I really enjoyed it. I think I read it in one sitting. It was really great, and I've heard the rest of the series is really great. So I am excited to continue that, and I can't really say much. Like, it's a middle grade, so there's, as far as like writing and things like that, it's not written for me. Then I read A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Now you're covered in water and you want to play with my stuff. Look at this. Look at this wet belly. Look at this. Look at this. What? And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was really great. So if you watched my previous wrap up when I read this several months ago, when I read the first one in my 24-hour readathon, I thought it was really average, and I didn't really like it all that much. And then when my library reopened for curbside delivery or curbside pickup for books, I kind of was just like, you know what, screw it. So I was like requesting a bunch of books, and so I requested the second and the third one in the series. The second one was really great, and I think it hit a lot of points that the first one missed for me. There's a lot more character development. Our main character goes through a lot emotionally, and I think we saw way more of her as a person than we did in the first one. Like, we saw way more of just like her struggles and her thoughts and all of that. I have my complaints with this series. I'm now reading the third one. I'm not a fan of all-powerful characters that didn't earn their power. They were just essentially given it, and they don't have to train, they don't have to do anything. They are just the answer to everything. And I think that this series uses that trope too much, of like her being the answer to everything. She can solve everything, she's great, whatever. So that's kind of an annoying part for me, but I enjoyed everything else. I enjoy the romance aspect of it. I think that her significant other, I'm not gonna like go into details because this is the second book, her significant other in this, I like the way that all of it was handled. There's no water in there left, you drank it all. So I liked the way that the whole situation with the relationship was handled. And yeah, I'll let you guys know my thoughts on the conclusion in this month, August. I read The Wicked Deep. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. This is the story of a small town that previously they believed had witches that came, and the witches like cursed the town after they were killed, basically. And so in this town, once every summer for like a week, they have the witches come back, possess bodies of the girls in the town and then kill boys in the town. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Didn't hate it. It was really average for me. I didn't believe the relationship. The romance to me felt incredibly weird. I didn't believe it. I didn't think that it should have ended the way that it ended. I don't agree with them being together. I just don't think that it was very believable at all. The atmosphere was really what made this book. It is set in like this coastal town, and our female main character lives on like this island that is way out with a lighthouse on it, and so the atmosphere of the whole thing was done very well, and I think that that's really what sold it and made it what it was. And the story, I'm just pushing stuff over. The story was, the idea of the story was great, but it was just average as far as execution. Next, I read American Royals. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It's basically like Gossip Girl with royals, like if America had a royal family instead of like presidents or a presidential family. It was just like fun drama and intrigue and things like that. And then I read Difficult Women. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's an anthology all of them are written by Roxane Gay, and they're short stories about women's experiences just like existing. It deals with a lot of trauma and abuse and feelings of guilt over various situations. I really enjoyed this. I love Roxane Gay's writing. I think the very simplistic way that she goes about explaining stories just like gives you this gut punch, and you feel it because every single word and every single sentence feels very deliberate. But there were several stories in there that didn't make sense in like the context of the short stories and like what it was trying to achieve. In my opinion, this book was trying to just showcase the different experiences and aggressions that women deal with just on a daily basis, and we're sort of like expected to stomach it and swallow it, in addition to just the multifaceted experiences that women have. But there were definitely some stories in there that I didn't quite understand how it contributed to the narrative, and it just pulled it out for me. Then I read The Bluest Eye. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. This is a multiple POV story about a young girl's experience. She is Black in a predominantly low-income community, and she has basically always been told that white skin, blue eyes, blonde hair is like beauty, and that's really the only way that you can be worthy is to have those qualities. And you are getting the points of view of multiple people in her life that have made her the way she is, or kind of attributed to the trauma and attributed to the person that she is at the end of the story. I loved this so much. I didn't get as emotional as I know some people did, but this really told an amazing story, and I loved the way that Toni Morrison went about it. She presented us with the points of view of the people that eventually led to our main character's issues, but she explained the villains in like a very human and understandable way. Not necessarily that their actions were understandable or excusable, but we understood them more in a human way, not in like they're a villain, and we understood how their actions and the traumas that they went through have affected the trauma that she goes through and the way that they react to other people. And it was just a fantastic story, and I loved the multiple POVs. I think it really contributed and really hit an impact. It delves a lot into the ideals of the Black stereotype and the multifaceted personalities that Black people have, obviously. Like, no one is a monolith, no one one Black person doesn't necessarily speak for every Black person, or one Black person's experiences or reactions don't mean that every Black person is going to react that way. And it also presented the idea of like Black people having to fit into a certain mold to not be categorized as dumb or, you know, ghetto or things like that, or aggressive. It was just really, really good. Then I read Well Met. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's a hate to love romance set against the backdrop of Renaissance Fair, but it deals a lot with grief and feelings of instability that come along with being an adult and not really knowing your place and what you want to do with your life. Then I reread The Vampire Academy. This is like my 5th time around, but this time around I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was just fun. Then I read We Hunt the Flame. This is like an adventure story between a prince who's an assassin and a girl who has magical powers. And does she have magical powers? I don't think she has magical powers. Yes, she does. I don't remember, but I think she does. Okay. If you're watching this and you've read this book and you know like this is the back of your hand, I apologize. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, even though I can't for the life of me remember the storyline right now, or the intricacies right now. But I really liked the characters. I really liked each individual person. I think that they were kind of given their own personalities. And even though we had our main characters, I didn't really feel like the side characters were like left flat as much. I knocked off a star because I didn't really feel like a connection amongst the characters. I enjoyed the ragtag team going after this thing. I enjoyed that, but I don't think that we didn't see a lot of the connecting, whereas we were supposed to feel like they were connected to each other, and it just wasn't there for me. I listened to the audiobook of Clap When You Land. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is a story written in verse, and it tells the story of 2 girls that are sisters. They don't know they're sisters until their father passes away in a plane crash, and they're dealing with feelings of grief in addition to coming to terms with the fact that they don't really know who their parent is, or they didn't know who their parent was, and that their parent might not be as perfect and as everything that they thought that he was. It also dealt a lot with the different lives that they lead. The one sister is in New York living with her mother, and the other sister is in the Dominican Republic living with her aunt after her mother passed away. And the struggles that the sister in New York go through is very different than the struggles that the sister in the Dominican Republic go through, and it was just a really well-developed story. I previously listened to another written in verse by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I'm not really like a huge verse person. I don't really like poetry. I can't connect to it that well, but her stories are different, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, but there's something about her writing that is so easy to connect with, and it really packs a punch. And then the last book that I read in the month was Hideaway by Penelope Douglas. This is the 2nd book in the Devil's Night series. I read the first one and really liked it. The second one was a little bit of a disappointment for me. It had, you know, the romance and dark elements that I've come to expect from Penelope Douglas, but this felt like a huge setup for the next one, and I think the romance kind of took a back seat. This is after the events of the first one, and it follows Kai and his relationship with a girl that he knew 6 years prior, before Erica joined their group and like changed everything. And I think I would have liked more of their relationship. They have this very like cat and mouse feel to them. I mean, most of her books do, but there's just like this edge to it that I would have liked more of, that I don't think was really explored because it was so busy setting up for the next book. I love Penelope Douglas. I will 100% read the next book. The newest one in this series just came out, so I'm excited to read and continue. So this by no means ruined anything for me. Like, I will continue to read this series and enjoy it. But yeah, so those are all of the books that I read in July. I would have liked to have read more, but it's fine. So that's it. This is Axel, this is Luna, and we are saying thank you for watching this video, and we will see you in our next one.